And ride with me in my foul life.
We're back. What's up, my audience? Thank you all so much. The Foul Life Podcast. It continues to grow. All of the messages we get, y'all are loving the diversity in topics and guests. And I'm telling you, we got another good one today. I have a friend that I've been friends with a long time, haven't talked to him in a good minute. And he's got some really cool things going on. But before I introduce this man, remember to keep supporting the partners and sponsors that support us. Today's episode of the Foul Life Podcast is brought to you by our friends at Gerber Gear. Stay sharp, America. I carry a knife, a saw, an axe, a hatchet. Everywhere I go, every blind bag, every UTV, ATV, boat, truck, toolbox, blind bag, backpack, I have something that I can build a blind with or cut the meat off the bone with. And we depend on Gerber because they keep us sharp, and that's how we want to be. Always make sure that you keep safety on the front of your lobes of your brain. You do not want to cut yourself with the Gerber. Trust me. I've just nicked myself going too fast on some mallard breasts for a dinner, and it hurts like heck. So be careful, make safety number one, and depend on Gerber to make sure that your hunts and fishing trips are complete. My guest today is the one and only George Lynch. I know if you hunt ducks and geese, you've heard of George Lynch over the past 20 years. He's been very instrumental in such things as turkey call design, duck call design, goose call design, short reed goose call design. He's here on the Foul Life Podcast. George, my man, how are you?
I'm doing great, Chad. It's great to see you, man.
Great to see you. Where are you at right now? You moved to Iowa?
We're in Southeast Iowa in God's country. You know, with all the big deer. I live, Diane and I, we live right on the edge of a duck club. My place that we have, our place that we have out here, we have two places, but it is an old duck club. Used to sleep 16 people, has a big basement. They had everything set up. They had the lockers when I moved in. And then north of us is a cabin that we bought with the place. It was a caretaker's place, and we got it all fixed up and pretty. My wife has, and we're going to have that for writers and hunters and people who come in to stay, because we got a lot on the plan with legendary gear in the future and living in the place that we live. I can walk out, Brad or Chad, in the morning, sit on our deck, and we'll hear turkeys every morning. And I can go from my deck and probably set up and kill one within 20 minutes. You know, it's blessed. And the big deer I've got, we sheds from deer that are 180 inches. We got 190 inches. I had a 200-inch buck last year that pictures of that I was chasing here, and ended up killing a 165-inch 8-point. But this is Southeast Iowa. It's the place.
I thought you were a duck and a goose hunter. Why all this talk about deer?
Dude, as I grew up, I'm a hillbilly. For one thing, we eat it. It's not roadkill all the time, but I was actually raised in southern Michigan with the geese. We didn't have geese like you have now. Young guys, you're sitting here. This is the best of days. Everybody talks about what you used to in the past, man. In the old past, we're in pretty good days today with waterfowl. Yeah, we're going to have good years and bad years and weather and stuff that you can't. I mean, farmers deal with that too, but we're in the best of days. The only geese you heard in Michigan in the fall and high up migrating. We had local ducks. We get duck holes now and then, but we didn't have the waterfowl. So when I got into it, I was lucky. I got to duck and goose hunting, got pretty competitive with it. There was no one around to help you. There was there was no YouTube. There was no social media to go look up. But I was blessed at Knutson's there, which ran a huge guide service back in the day there in Michigan. And I happened to be blessed to live in a good spot in Michigan that geese did hold up when they were migrating. But I got working for them and guiding. And that was the first time I met Tim Grounds and Fred Zink and Jeff Foyles, and we all guided together. And I would probably say that Tim Grounds is where I learned, calling and picking up stuff like that. I've learned a lot from Tim and his tapes, and Tim was always good in instructing, but really the best teacher, Chad. We hunted a lot. We made the stupid mistakes I made back in the day, but that's how we learn. And you can learn and watch as much as you want on YouTube, but dude, you gotta be out in the field. You gotta be putting your time behind the plate, taking the swings, live pitching is different than practice pitching, and that's the same way with hunting.
Yeah, it really sucked to lose Tim. How'd you feel when you heard that? That was a tough break, yeah.
You know, yeah, it was a tough break. I knew Tim that it was tough. I sat there and laid in bed. I got it through a text message, and someone texted me early in the morning and said, "Hey, did you hear about Tim?" And yeah, it was tough. It was, as Tim was. I don't know. When they're icons, when someone's an icon, you think that they're going to be around forever, and then you find out that icons doesn't matter whether you're a regular icon, hero, whatever. Our ticket, when it's punched, we're done. Yeah. And it was tough when Tim sure laid a big road. And, but he had helped started a bunch of people, yourself, myself, every people, guys like us. And then we kind of picked up the torch, and, he didn't hold our hand in building calls and tuning calls and stuff like that. He lit that torch. And then a few of us, were able to pick that torch. And I think we kind of went and rode our own path. But it was Tim that helped started that path for me. It was, no doubt about it. My dad, my mother, we were hunters. It was small game, pheasant, rabbits, squirrels. And, then the deer. As soon as you were old enough to hunt deer, I was on it. But when the goose hunting started really getting popular, I got on that first stage there in Michigan and just got ate up with it. And, and then started trying to learn everything I can and blowing routines and doing this and that. And then all of a sudden, a young man from Michigan got to be friends with named Sean Stahl. And we married, we were kids back then. And it's just, I remember hearing Stahl at the first contest, Michigan State contest. Him and I both, we got kicked. And I never blew a contest. I was hunting, it sounded good hunting, but I'll blow in this contest. Heck, I'll do, kid. Holy crap, what is this they're doing? No practice. Just went up there, thought I was going to wing it. And a good friend of mine, Todd Sabota, who was, Freddie was working with him in contest calling. And I was just going to go there and razz him. I blew against him in the field. I didn't know what it sounded like to blow a contest, but I remember Stahl and I both got cut in the first round. But I knew when I was listening to Stahl, you just know that guy's got a good sound. That kid ever figures it out, he's going to be tough to beat. And of course he did,
Ended up winning the Worlds, I think, in 2000. It's been a while. Maybe, no, Kelly won it in 2000.
Yeah, Kelly won. It was the first, I think Kelly, besides David, Harold Knight, I think Kelly was the first one to actually win it with a short reed. And I think Stahl was 2001.
Yeah, Kelly won it in 99, then he won the champion of champions in 2000. Stahl was like 01, 02, I think, yeah. He won it on a foils. Yeah,
yep. Straight meat.
Yeah, straight meat. Have you talked to Jeff lately?
No, I haven't. Before COVID, and that's one of the great things, they ask, what are some of the benefits? I love the traveling. I love the show. Some guys don't like traveling, but I love traveling, doing shows, because I have met, and you know what it is. You meet so many people, and I get to see all your old friends. I mean, you get to see people, and that's the only time we don't hunt together. So you get to see them during the season. Everybody's at the same shows. I think it was last year or the year before last we really talked with Jeff. Presley's had their waterfowl weekend, and Jeff and I and my wife, we went to, Kelly always gives us tickets to the semi-pro game. So Jeff and I and my wife, and I think there was a bunch of the young guys, we all went to the baseball game. But it's tough right now with this COVID. We're building the business. You're really true learning that the hardest part is getting supplies and getting stuff done. It's been a challenge. But, the blessing this time of running Legendary Gear for me is that, I did everything before. Lynch, I was the marketing guy. I was buying, I was tuning. We were doing it all. And then I hired guys that were working for me, blowing contests and tuning. But basically, I was making all the decisions, making. And the neat thing is now my wife has a marketing background, business background. She is a lot better at business. I'm not good at business. I trust people too much, and shaking a hand, and I trust that's going to be good. We shake a hand, but she's up and running the business. She's done a phenomenal job. I give her the ideas. I give her some pointers of what I would do on the business part, but she's putting together a great ambassador team with some great young men, some talented young men. And with her making business decisions and kind of setting, we got a business plan we set out, it gives me the time to put all my efforts into these calls and designing what's next. And, so it's good time. That's what I'm saying. Today is good times for me.
So people know you from the original company, Lynch Mob. That was how I met you, and you had the Reapers, and you had all the cool designs and the kind of the heavy metal meets goose calling and duck calling, and that, Jeff kind of had that too. When Foils would put out his videos, you always heard AC/DC and Metallica. I still don't know to this day how Jeff got away with using all that music on those DVDs. It's crazy that he got away with that. But so Lynch Mob is evolved into a new company, which it's your initials backwards. GL goes to LG for Legendary Gear. And when did this come into fruition?
Actually, Legendary Gear is probably, it's been about a year. Legendary Gear has always been there. My wife had it. It was a name we put, we were looking for something that it speaks of the company. And like with the marketing, you want that marketing power. You want that logo that Nike has the check. It's something that it's brand that you can promote. And believe it or not, she had worked with a graphic person, her ideas and putting it together. And it was on the first run. They had several logos that they ran, but that one stuck out to both of us. But I looked at that and I said, that's it. That's another one. And the funny part, Chad, I didn't even know about the initials GL. I just thought Legendary Gear till my wife pointed out and said, well, that's your initials backwards. I'm like,
really?
Holy crap, it is. Yeah.
And she has a background in marketing?
Yeah, she worked for Time Inc. in New York City when she got out of college. In fact, in college, she did an internship in Washington for Dan Quayle. Went to Hillsdale College, a big conservative college, but then was in New York, worked for Time Inc., TV Guide, Sports Illustrated for kids. She did TV commercials with athletes. So she's got an extensive, it was different because she worked on direct response. And she explains all this to me. I don't have a clue what it all means. But today it's different because of the internet and stuff. But Chad, she is the best researcher that when you give her something to do and say, hey, I need you to research this, she will research and come back and she'll catch on and learn. And that was probably the thing that impressed me the most because I went through divorce and cancer before in Michigan before I came out. I mean, the whole world was falling apart. And you're sitting there and what we used to worry about, hey, what are we going to do in 2-3 months? We're going to go film here. We're going to do this. We're going to this show. It was all of a sudden becoming, oh man, I got it this week. I can't leave because I got to get treatment or I got to go do this. And it was it was scary. And going through the divorce. But anyway, I had met her and she was going to work for me in marketing. And what impressed me is a woman who never hunted a day in her life, never been around hunters. But when she showed up with me and sat down across the table, she knew who every one of my competitors were. She knew who Fred Zink, Jeff Foils, Tim Grounds. She knew who every guy had been on their website. And she said, wow, the hunting industry's got a lot of improving to do. So that's how we started. And I had through that time, then before we could do anything, I got out here in Iowa and it was tough. I love where I live. I'm 30 minutes from food or gas, 40 minutes, but I couldn't get internet. I was living like an Amish man. I couldn't get internet for a long time and couldn't get stuff made. I lost a lot of money with Cabela's because we couldn't get product made from out here. So that's why the outdoor group had approached me. Larry McCoy, who was with them, I've known Larry for years. In fact, Larry does a TV show, but he used to be with High Tech Laser. He used to laser my calls out of Missouri, and he got a hold of me and said, hey, the outdoor group has 8 brands and dual game calls. They'd like to talk to you. So it was probably a bad timing for me, good timing for them, because I was ready to say, okay, I need help. I'm just going to jump ship. And hindsight, I look back, I wish I'd have stuck it out. But God's timing is everything. it's just flowing together and we're doing good. Has it been easy? Oh no, you're still working with people, machinists, and you know how that goes. But it's how you work. Every day you're going to have problems. It's how you face those problems, overcome them, and get moving on. And that's what, with her working with me, we no different. There's the same problems today as there was 10 years ago trying to get stuff made. It's just we have a plan now and putting together and how to work around it. So was it tough? Yeah, but we've got those. We got the cobwebs out, and things are starting to flow smoothly. My goal, I would love to one day have everything in control in-house. That's manufacturing is my background. That's the only way you have your future. I like the future in my hands and not in the hands of other people. So
you mean are we talking specifically about game calls right now? Your new duck and goose and turkey call line?
Yeah, right now. I mean, but we got some, we got a great person that's doing it. But, when you get down the road, and we had one of the things, the blessing of it is that I have great relationships with a lot of dealers out there, a lot of people I know, and the respect of a lot of people. And these people, pretty large retailers, have, as soon as they heard I was coming back in, contacted me. And that was, of course, you're sitting there, I'd like to do this, but we knew that our manufacturing to go at that level, if we get the orders, I want to be sure that we can produce. And I want to not just producing, you want to produce with the quality. And it's, you never want to be the kind of guy that's got to fling by the seat of his pants, we got 400 calls we got to get out by tomorrow. And you got guys working 12 hours tuning calls. I'm telling you, all those calls aren't going to sound as good as, if you got to be consistent. So until we have that consistent process, I told these guys, we're just going to hold back till next year. We got more on the plate coming. And, and everyone was so supportive to me. He said, dude, I understand. And just let us know when you're ready. So it's been positive and we're excited for the future. We're getting ready to start on some molded calls right now. So
what is your outlook, George, on the retail business of game calls? I think there is a place for the molded calls. I think the hook calls, with the clam packaging are there. But back, in some of the time frames that you allotted to earlier, it was nothing to have, several mom and pop and independent dealers with a custom call shop. Cabela's had a pretty good assortment. The Bass Pro transition has happened since then. Bass Pro is always kind of, it was there, but it wasn't real strong in the custom call market, in my opinion. Shields was there, but they were never really strong. But you did have your Presleys, and you had your Max Prairie Wings, and you had your Simmons.
Sporting Good.
Yeah, and there was some out there that really supported it. But do you think that times have changed now, and it's more of a internet direct to the consumer business, Amazon business now?
Just getting ready to tell you, dude, it's Amazon. It's a thing called Amazon. Absolutely. Through my conversations 5 years ago, when we were at the outdoor group, I was with Weston Clark with a dual game call. So Weston and I were kind of doing this tour, and we were putting it on social media, and guys were following us we did the whole tour in Canada and then the United States. We were over in Oregon doing the Waterfowl Festival, but every dealer, and we met with Dunham's, we met with Cabela's, Bass Pro, Jay's, everyone was down 20%. And the next year they were down another 20%. And it was all, they named Amazon. It was getting into their business. And I think and I know some call makers, some kids today don't even have dealers. It's a different world, Chad. They're spending tons of money to promote on Facebook, and they're selling all through Facebook and stuff like that, but they're spending, a lot of money. It's a different, and stuff like that is killing the retailers. It has to be, so. And then it's going to happen. You're going to have kids when he's bypassing retailers, and some guys are going to go out there and they're going to lower the price of their calls to get. And it isn't by quality. I've always been. I didn't want someone to buy my call because of price, but I want them to buy it because of quality. And if you want a price, go buy a injected call. It's about price. But there is some young guys out there who are killing the internet, but their prices are waiting. And that's what you're going to deal with the retailers. We're working on some programs now to combat that. And I think my wife's got a good game plan at hitting it forward and going with it. But you got to have both. The internet is powerful. There's no doubt about it. But Amazon has killed the retailing business without a doubt.
So will we find legendary gear at retail and box stores and brick and mortar?
Next year you will. Absolutely.
Next year you'll be in brick and
you
mortar.
might find some few small mom and pops, because I do the mom and pops. They've been the heartbeat, and what people don't understand, these people, you get these mom and pops, and if I had a good one in this area, I'll guarantee you're going to be going to the local mom and pops. And if you're in an area where you have a lot of hunters, young guys, you're going to have more social interaction with these people who get your calls, who are going to tell their buddies. That little store, believe it or not, can outsource and promote you, where that big box store, because there's 15 different call makers in there. You got one worker there who promotes zinc. One worker might promote Lynch mob. Another one might promote grounds. So it's a flux. You don't get the actual good promoting. People just look at the outside. Well, we're getting a bunch of calls here that we're selling, but mom and pops have their benefit, and it isn't just the sales. It's the actual promoting that you can do through there, is what I guess what I'm trying to say. And when we miss that point.
But for sure, most of your mindset or your strategy is going to be going towards that Amazon-based customer and figuring out the ads and the search engine optimization and everything that it takes to get eyeballs on that part of that is the new retail business, as far as the way people are buying things. Jeff Bezos has built a monster with that thing, but there is something said about picking up the call and using it and practicing it and having somebody take a alcohol disinfectant wipe and wipe it off and put it back in the case. How are people testing calls before they buy them? Or is that where Diane and marketing comes in, of being able to say, hey, here's what you can expect out of our call. It's going to be a single reed duck call. It's going to be tuned like this. We also have this short barrel design, or we have this short reed goose call. We're going to have a longer insert on this one, a larger exhaust on this one. Are they just going to have to trust your credibility in the marketplace if they can't go and put their hands on it?
No, absolutely not. You got to be a person who, number one, you got to believe in your product. Number two, you got to stand behind your product. And no, Chad, it's our job to educate people. And that's one thing that you're abreast. You do have social media. Social media just isn't put a picture and put an ad. To me, it's about getting out there, show them what I have, but educate them about it. This is what it sounds like. This is how you blow. This is how it was designed. This is what's special. And one of the things that I took to heart, and I learned this years ago in sales, with the companies that we worked with, that when you see the customer and you see your dealer, to me, I'm not going in there and telling him, hey man, when he looks at me, he says, why should I put your calls on my shelf? Well, they're just as good as I got grounds, I got foils, I got zinc. Well, they're just as good as those. Well, why would I carry another one then? What makes you stand out? You got to have something that stands out. What makes you different? And that's what we always focused on. Baseball was my life. It's the same thing. You just couldn't have a fastball. It might be good on the bad teams, but you get with the good teams, they catch up. So you got to have other stuff. You have a full lineup of pitches, and do your homework and know where to place on the hitters. That's the same way in the market of what we're trying to sell, game calls. You're right, exactly. You want to hold it in the hand. They want to feel how it blows, but I think with us, it is in the marketing. We know how to tune stuff. I've been doing this all my life. I've tuned a ton of calls. Our calls is everyone's tuned by me for you. And that's the difference. This isn't, we have a room full, a bunch of guys tuning calls or tuning calls for 12 hours a day. I'm tuning calls every day, but I'm sitting there tuning every call just like I'm going to go out in the field with it. It's about that. You got to promote that. This is what makes this different. We put the extra care in it. This is why I designed it. We design, and actually you do design calls for a certain way and what they should be for, and what are they made for, and what they sound like, and stand behind your call. And you got to know what you're talking about. Put it out there, but educate the public. Educate them. YouTube's the best, great source. Educate. And then you got to draw. Then you got to become you got to be wanted. You got to make yourself, valuable. And that with these calls, you're going to be a rock star. It's just, but it is going to be different. But it's using social media. I still want, like I said, you can't get away from your retailers. It's still good to have the sports. It's still sales. A lot more concentration on the social media.
No, I think that I'm looking it up right now because I look at these things very close of how important that social media has become in our marketing efforts, and it's almost like a double-edged sword to me, because there's, in my opinion, I think there's so many people on social media that do not have the credibility to have the voice they do, but they have created it by becoming, quote unquote, Insta famous, or whatever the words are or terms you want to use, where there might be somebody that has your ability and your experience and your knowledge and your ability to instruct and teach. And there's got to be a fine line of where the credibility is today and how we're going to learn, because there might be somebody like Tim Grounds that, before he passed, he wasn't on social media a bunch and doing a bunch of instructing on social media and building a huge following. Those days had passed Tim. Tim was more of the interaction at a show, go out to Oregon Waterfowl Festival and then be in Peoria, then be in Easton, and then be down in different parts of Illinois. Those shows aren't as abundant as they were at one time. But now you go on the internet and you're like, all right, I want to go find somebody as a credible source. It's almost like, well, this guy's got 100,000 following. He must be the guy that we need to believe in, right? Well, that's not necessarily the case. So it's kind of like a weird marketing deal. Do you build that audience? Do you build that following? Or how do you get the credibility in today's marketplace, George?
In my opinion, for me watching, I'll tell you what, real quick. And I've had several conversations with my son. He's very good with picking up some stuff in the social media. He's always looking at the podcast. He's listening to guys' podcasts. See, with me, I'm so busy. There's very few podcasts. I'll listen to some podcasts. Someone say, "Hey, man, check out this podcast." Poop, I'll put it on and listen, because you feel it. Now, if it's something new that I'm getting into, I might listen to a podcast, but to me, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm doing. So I'm not spending that much time on social. Kind of like Tim, I'm worried about, I got to tune calls. I got to do this. But the younger generation, like my son, man, they constantly, he knows every podcast, whether it's deer hunting, waterfowl, and all these guys, and they're using this. I get that, but I'm telling you, and I'm not going to bring names up here because I don't want to, I'm not like that, but I'm having a hard time understanding this, Chad, because I sit back, and I think because I had guided for so long, when hunting wasn't cool, when hunting wasn't on the internet, we didn't have internet. We were just hardcore hunters. We were called rednecks, called hillbillies. We eat what we kill, all this stuff. But we didn't, we weren't on, so, but I could watch someone today. And when I watch these young guys, I'll sit and watch an episode, and I look at my son, I said, they got how many followings? And I said, they don't know what they're doing. Dude, I'm watching 90% of these guys, they fail, and it's about doing crazy and stupid stuff that my dad would smack me inside of the head. So what are you doing out here? We're here to hunt, man. We're set up to do this, and you're constantly watching the wind. And I think it's because we guided. And if I wasn't successful, dude, I wasn't getting paid. So it came different. It wasn't a game. It was life, and you had to learn. And that's what I'm saying today. So you're asking me the question, how can someone today, you got to become the hero. You got to become, it's what Phil Robertson, the duck commander. Phil is just, you can ask almost anybody, and it's like, oh man, I bet he kills a ton of ducks. And Phil does. But Phil was on videos, and when you watch Phil was the real deal. He presented himself, whether he was or not. Maybe he only went out when he filmed. You didn't know that. You thought when you saw Phil Robertson, that was one duck killing SOB. That guy knows what. And I remember back in the day when Phil first came out, he had his first date with Warren Coco and Zink and I and Sabota. Dude, we listened to those tapes. We'd be out hunting all the time, imitating. Hey, that's what I'm talking about, and stuff. And we constantly, and that's what you got to do today. These young kids, and one thing I think from coaching ball, my son's whole life, from coaching from young boys in Pee Wee League to young men in Legion League, I've coached that whole thing. And I have a way of communicating with young guys. And I know how to communicate with young guys, but I also can communicate with the older guys. And that's what you need today. You need to get out there. It's not a show off, but go out as someone who's confident. And I don't have to yell in the camera and scream every time I shoot a bird to tell you how good I am. You just watch it, get done. But you just got to be a hero today. You got to know what you're talking about. And that's what I'm saying. I watched a bunch of this today, and you'll see a couple good, and I will give the kids credit today. These kids are phenomenal at being tech savvy. They're good at running the camera, and they'll set stuff up, and they'll get a couple good hunts. And you'll see that, but majority of the tips, there's no tips and tactics. They just go out and they hunt. They don't talk about why they, so there's a chance of a guy to rise up, a Jim Shockey of the waterfowl, that you rise up and say, man, this guy knows what he's doing. This guy, he goes out, he's not slapping high fives. Man, we want to kill him. I get that. And I do get excited. Like my wife this year, first time ever goose hunting, shot 2 bands out of 3 geese. And I was more excited than her. Just because she doesn't realize that's just she's never heard of. That's unheard of. But today you got to have that hero, that guy that, you're not popular because you're promoting this brand or you're promoting this clothing. You're good because you know how to speak to people, but you know how to teach people how to hunt. And that's another thing too. You can't just be a good hunter. You want to be a good teacher, so that through your videos and through what you're talking about, you are very good at displaying that you want to teach. We're out there teaching those young kids. That's what the video is about to me. I'm out there. I want to educate. I want people to do it right. I don't want them to have to learn from some jerk off on social media, young kids, and get this ingrained that this is what we got to do to kill geese, or we got to do that now, and show people. And my job is to educate. Entertain, yeah, you entertain, but they want to be educated. They want to learn something. I learned this years ago when we were with Avery doing that Waterfowl Classics with Avery. On my first video that I did, it was always about filming stuff. How does the geese see our blinds? We filmed from up above with cherry pickers. And I was trying to film and find where's the weak spot in that geese were going to tend to pick you up and pick your blinds. Well, we found that out, we're filming and we're and explaining, but I did some diagrams of different decoy spreads. Why? And I called these spreads, I had a different name for each spread. And we filmed them from up above with the decoys. And then I filmed them where I put the movement, but I also made diagrams. And I remember doing it down in Kansas. We were doing a seminar and got done, and a bunch of guys came up to me and said, dude, we got your first video there. It says, how come you don't have a decoy book? How come you don't sell this? And I said, what are you talking about? So, well, man, on your video, you got the decoy spreads there where I had a graphics group. My buddies and I drew that off your TV, off your video, and we put them in our trailer. And here you're sitting thinking, and they use that. That's when the light bulb went with me. I said, stuff that I take for granted. But it took you and it took myself years to learn. A lot of people don't know that. We just take it up but you got to explain to people. And so then in my head I was thinking, wow, it's the thing is about educating people. If we're going to make a mark, and I want to make a mark in this sport and what I call this is my life, I want to make a mark that I left something, took more than I gave back more than I took. That's what our whole thing should be, the whole thing in life, period, and helping others. So I look at it, for me, is about if I can educate and get new kids into hunting, new people into hunting, to keep, we're strong in numbers, but that's what we got to do, Chad, because we're in a day, it's a scary age today. It's a scary age with people, hell, I'm sitting here in turkey season and we're hunting turkeys tomorrow morning, open day, and I have to use shells that I bought last year. I've always been a Winchester Longbeard. It's just, I've killed turkeys at 70 yards. Dead is dead. They keep talking about more powerful stuff. And it's like, well, man, dead's dead. I can't even buy Winchester Longbeard anywhere around here. And it's like, wow, I can't get ammo. I never thought I'd see a day like this. So it's scary. We need numbers. We need people educated right. I just don't let them be taught by, like you said, a lot of these yo-yos. And it's guys like you and I, our responsibility, because we have had a good time. We've done our thing in this sport that we give back, but it's to this generation. They need to be taught. They're not going to learn. They're not going to see it. The TV shows, it's a lot of the TV shows, it's about, and it's good. And I have to say, not just because I'm talking to you, I've been watching your show. I love your show. I love it. I love it. It's good. Probably one of the best ones out there right now that I like, that I watch. But the rest of them, dude, it's just foreign products. And I know that we all got to be responsible and it pays the bills and stuff, but it kind of gets in a way. When I talk to all these young kids, a lot of these young kids don't watch TV a lot because of commercials. They don't have this time that they want to sit there. So there's a way that we have to get to them and reach out to them.
So when you start thinking about the word legend, there's a lot of different sectors in life to where somebody, male or female, can become a legend. A dog could become a legend. I know there's a lot of legendary labs out there. There's a lot of racehorses that have become legendary. As far as what you and your wife, Diane, are doing, what is your goal? You want to teach people, but you also are trying to get them to understand that this gear can help them become legendary, or that this gear has enough experience in it and know-how and instruction in it that it is legendary. Tell me the reason, because to be put on a pedestal of legendary, I want to know what you're trying to tell the customer when they click that purchase to buy one of your new calls and whatever product you're getting ready to launch in the future.
Absolutely. And it's a good question. And what our whole goal was on this is that the calls I've worked and everything we've done in this call is try to be realistic as we can with the call, but also user friendly. And you hit the point. The point isn't about the call being legendary. It's about making great products that helps you become legendary, what you set to be legendary, being able to accomplish things that you couldn't before. And that's what become legend. Legend are people who work beyond the failures, who work and not just on successes, but you have to work past the failures and you got to have a good equipment. And that's what the whole thing about legendary, that we are part of stuff that we create products. And that's why the term is legend by design. And because legend, people are made, they're not born. I truly believe that. It isn't about that you're born under a royalty or royal blood or anything. Being a legend is about hard work, being at it, being smart, thinking, being a thinker, and putting your time in, being consistent, repetition, working, and great work ethic. And that's what legend, all that coming in. But it's also about bringing success. You never find anybody who's a legend who's a loser, but legendary, it's always about creating, being on the top. Cream always rises to the top.
And the other thing that I think of, George Lynch, is you hear the word epic thrown around a lot. Oh man, that game was epic. That shot was epic. That hunt was epic. A hunt, memories, telling a story, camaraderie, duck camp, goose camp, turkey camp, deer camp. Those all have the potential to become legendary. Like when I think of my travels and my friends and my network that we've been lucky enough to build throughout the last decade, or a little bit longer than a decade now, it's legendary. It's like, man, there's a lot of legend, because legend has a lot to do with folk and story and history and all that. And there's a lot of legend that goes into the flooded timber of Arkansas, or the cornfields of Iowa, or Devil's Lake, North Dakota, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, Alberta. There's legend that goes with everything that you put your fingers on as a gatherer, hunter, provider, fisherman, outdoorsman, outdoorswoman. So I think that that's a lot to do with it. When I think of legend, I think of the stories that are going to be told because of your gear, if that makes sense.
Exactly. And again, you're talking about these places. It's about successful hunts. It's memories of having successful hunts with buddies right there. And maybe sometimes there's some misses, but it was always about something positive. It was about laughs. It was about, we've seen a lot of birds. It was covered. It's about being successful and learning to enjoy what you do. and it's about making our time legendary. Going out there, time is valuable, and going out there. And if I'm going to be in the sport, I want people to put their best into it and, practice. And I've always been this with contest guys, practice. And I did the same thing in baseball. My philosophy, I always told my son, practice don't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. And you want to have repetition. You want to be doing the same thing. It's got to become muscle memory. But you're absolutely right. Being legendary is helping people. And that was our whole goal, making products, making lifestyle, creating a lifestyle that people would like to follow, learn from to become successful in what they do. Plain and simple. And like I said, my whole life, whether, we're right now, I'm part of my life is I'm doing a lot of men's retreats. We're getting ready to do one here in another week in Kansas. My wife and I both are faithful people. And I did one at Table Rock in Missouri this past summer, first time. I've done tons of seminars. I'm hunting, chatting, talking to people. I never have to walk. Someone can ask me any question, and I can talk for hours. But I was going to do, it was 4 sermons. And my wife was going with her. She's awesome because she keeps me spell checked. She knows how to keep everything proper. I can speak the redneck, but she keeps me nice and clean and make it presentable. And, every day her and I have our Bible study every day. And we sit in the morning, read it, we talk about it, and then go through our day. That our faith, we believe, is helps become legendary, for our Maker and that lifestyle. But I think it's how you present yourself. When I got to, I'm speaking about God, man, I'm nervous. I don't want to mess up. And so my life right now is it's both. We're doing the hunting and we're starting. I always told God, I'll come back in this thing. And I'm going to be the best. I'm going to do better than I've ever done before. I just know it. I've learned so much in the past. I've learned from my mistakes. I got an opening here. The market is dire need of this. And I got a great partner. And I believe, everything that I believe and that we pray about, that it comes to. And that's exactly what has happened. I mean, I could tell you all the long story of what I went through, and it's tough. But I sat here in this place in Iowa one night, couldn't get anything done. I said, God, why did you move me out in this forsaken place? I love it here, but I can't get anything done. Man, in Michigan, I had 7 days a week. People were in my shop. I had people every day. People liked me. They were talking to me. And it was real clear. It was a solid word. Says, this is the only way I can get you to hear me. So that kind of changed my whole life and what we were doing. And so it isn't just the call business that we work on now. It's also out there ministering to men, and it's strictly men that I go to. It's about raising warriors. We're in a time of fight. We're in a time of need, and evil only prevails when good people do nothing. And
I agree 100%. So what about the product? Is it different than Lynch Mob? Do you feel better about it because your calls were damn good? I got some Lynch Mobs.
Yeah, they were good. And I'll tell you what it is. It's a blend of everything I did in the past, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, put together to make each call separate. It was stuff that I wanted to do. They were close. I had this before, but I took the best of what I had before. And I'm not a duck hunter per se. I mean, I am a duck hunter, but we were goose was the big thing. But the duck calls that we came up with this year has been. Everyone told me, dude, the duck call, and it's what I love. It is so user friendly. You double read, man. I can just, it's ergonomically fits the hand right. I made the press. We worked on that soundboard, and it can sound amazing when I blow it. It's got to sound amazing when they blow it. That's what the key is: making stuff that other people can use and sound good. And that's what we done. Yeah, Lynch Mob was great. I learned a lot from it. But you evolve, and if you don't, you die. And I took what we've done with these calls here is that we've just taken the best of what I had before and blended and kind of mixed stuff up and changed it. And I'm really proud of what I got now.
How's the response been? Are they selling yet? I mean, tell the people what's going on with it right now and what's available and where you can find them.
Well, right now on the website, got all the duck and goose calls. We're still working. We're selling the turkey calls, but the duck and goose calls. And here's the sad thing. It was tough because we put in our plan to get this. We were going to be up in October 1st running, and prior because of stuff with the past company, my wife and I were trying to make sure we had our dotted and T's crossed. And working with our machinists. So what turned from October 1st ended up being January 1st. So we lost our whole waterfowl season. But beyond that, I mean, it's helped us. We got it together and calls are selling. I still got stuff that's coming out that's going to be new here. We got some wooden calls that are coming. There should be another week or so. We're going to blow it up with these wood calls. With the gut system, using how I tune the guts, putting in with these new wood calls. I'm excited. The turkey products, it was just, a gentleman came to me. It was through a relationship, makes phenomenal pot calls. His pot calls used in the NWTF last year or year before last, out of the top 5 for his pot calls. The guy just makes the best pot calls. He partnered up with us. We came up with 2 models. We have glass and we have slate. We have glass over glass, cherry and walnut. We have slate over glass with walnut or cherry. The 2 different strikers. We have diaphragms that we just got out. We were going to have the box call. The box call's not quite where I want it. So the box call will be ready for 2022. Like I said, everything you put, it isn't just about putting a product in your line. I want the best product that I design into that line, or it's not legendary. It's not going to be legend. So we kind of held off on the box call, but the pot calls and the diaphragms and strikers, everything's going, and we're selling the pot calls good. They're the people that, my wife's doing a great job, and she's posting every day on her Instagram. We got an ambassador team that she's put together, phenomenal ambassador team. And the work that they're doing, we're just scratching the surface, dude. She's doing stuff right now with Pro Staff Ambassadors marketing that I didn't even do in all the years that I did with Lynch Mob. I mean, she's just done her homework, and so I can concentrate on killing things and making things.
Do you think that you said the market needs it. Can we really make a better duck and goose call that has been out there in the past, George? Or is it because of the marketing and, most importantly, the culture behind the brand? Are you going to build the George Lynch culture through the help of these ambassadors and the people flying your flag? Is it all about building that culture into the call? Because in my opinion, there's a lot of great duck calls out there, the rich and tones, the echoes. I can go on and on. We have jargon, which I love, but then you got the goose calls. You got Freddie and you got Jeff and you got Hunter running Tim Ground's calls now. And then you got Joe Lair's duck calls out in California, one of the best ever. So there's a lot of good calls out there that you can kill ducks with. Phil Robertson kills them with a double reed DC 600 every day. So you don't need a whole lot to kill a mallard duck, but it's about the culture that you're going to build into this brand, is it not?
Yes and no. There's 2 things you want to do. I mean, yes, it's about building a culture. You got to build a following. You got to, like I said earlier, you want to be that hero if I do what he does, if I do what Chad Belding does, I'm going to be successful. I'm going to become legend like Chad. That's what it's about. So yes, you're right. It's the personification of building a culture. But to me, and I've seen this dude so many times in shows, a lot of these calls that you and I talk are good calls. If you're in the business of selling, the contest callers and the real top of the line callers is probably only 10% of all the waterfowlers, maybe 20, maybe. The average guys that I've met so many guys, and it's awesome. They hunt their ass off, and excuse my French, but they hunt hard. They look for, they're looking for the best product, but they spend time scouting them and their buddies, and they know what they're doing. They get their spread, and they get, got one trailer with everybody's gear put together. They go out there and they have good hunts. These guys are not great callers, but they go out in that field. And to me, I look at, and that's like 80% of the guys goose hunting, duck hunting out there. So can you make a better product? I think you can. If you ever sit here at the day and say that we can't get any better, you won't get any better. I truly believe that that duck and goose, there's always something, but it's not as much as making it better, making it user friendly. I want to make products that guys can make. And if it's the molded call that he can go and sound like the best duck, then I've done my job, Chad. It's the more people I can get and say, hey man, I've never been able to sound that good on a duck call. I've never been able to sound that good on a goose call. That's what turns you on. And I drive every day. What can I make better today? And I use the analogy every day in our life. You know, some days you're always wanting to move forward. Some days, man, it's a great day. I wake up strong and ready to go. And you move we moved 10 yards today, man. We really moved the ball. Some days you move 10 inches, but I'm still moving forward every day. Whatever you're doing, what can we move forward? Can I make better? Can we do things, you know? And if you can't, then I'm going to design something else that's going to be better, you know. And like I said, there's an open market in the hunting industry with decoys, camo, and, you know, it's like I said, the game calls, I've got them and they're good. Can it be better? It can, but we got other ideas that we want to really help the waterfowl guys, hunting guys in general, that, you know, it's on our bucket list. It's on the list of what we're doing.
And where do you think, what are your goals, George? I know that your goals are to teach and to make people better hunters, but on the other side of the pendulum or the spectrum, you are a businessman. There's a thing called revenue and profit and gross sales and net sales and livelihood and making a living. You're starting over in a way, but with your knowledge, you have a head start. This is not an easy game to get into. And what I mean by that is, you've alluded to people on the internet. There's a lot. You could build a duck call in your garage, go get a lathe, build a duck call and sell 100 of them a year. But if you're trying to create revenue and you want to build a brand and a national brand and survive that infancy stage where only like 2 to 3%, they say, of companies and brands in the country survive the infancy stage of going national, there is this thing that you have to keep in mind of, how do we launch this brand? We're going to market. We have great product. We got to compete with a lot of brands out there. These are the things that are going in my mind every day as we look into launching new brands and new product and all of these different companies we have. You can build a duck call in your garage and sell them at the local fair and the local sporting goods show, no problem. But to go national and to have that presence like you did for a long time, a big presence, a huge footprint in this industry, in this marketplace, in this sector of hunting and outdoors with Lynch Mob calls, do you have apprehension? Are you nervous, George? I know that you said you're spiritual, and I know that we all know that, hey, God has put us here for a reason and things happen for a reason. But when you sit down at night, does it scare you? Are you fearful? Do you have nervosa? Because there's a lot of people listening, George, that are going, man, I want to be in the duck call business. Man, I want to be in the hunting game. How do I get into the hunting game? It's hard as heck to make your living in the hunting industry. No matter what anybody tells me, it's difficult. You know where I'm going with that?
It's hard as heck. It's hard as heck, and trying to get sponsors, and then you know, it isn't just selling calls. If you want to get, and then you're trying to hook up with sponsors, and you got everybody out there fighting for that piece of the pie. And you're absolutely right. Do I get fearful at night? No, I'm tired at night from working my ass off trying to, you know, what's the next thing? You got to outwork the next guy. You got to outthink the next guy. But I will tell you, and I didn't, you know, you don't want to put too much of your cards and you're laying out there. But Chad, it's Tom Matthews had he was a brilliant marketing guy. And I remember one of the things that, and I used the same analogy with Lynch Mob. I'm going to build an army. That's what Tom used to always tell me. We're going to build an army. That's what all that pro staff was. You know, he had 200, 250 guys. I had 125, but I had good guys. I had Team Canada. I had we had guys in Canada. And it's about spreading. It's making an army, Chad, that the guys are spreading. You'll get guys out there. If you get in each hunting group, buddies, and each one gets their calls, and that spreads. You know, it's kind of like selling insurance, or it's not the pyramid, but you want to get out there and you want to spread that. And I'm telling you, pro staff and building this army can do a ton for you. It's, you know, there's not enough hours in the day for me and Diane to get on there and stay on this laptop, because I stay on the laptop working all day on social media. I'm not designing or working on the next thing for Legendary Gear. So that's where Diane's been so good. If you got to build an army, you got to have good sergeants, you got to have good lieutenants, you got to have your guys out, your privates out there who are doing the groundwork. They're out there because I can't be in Washington, I can't be in Oregon, I can't be in California, I can't be. So it's that's what it is. It's built. You got to build an army. You got to get people out there behind you. I've always said this, and I'm just telling Fred. Fred would always, there's only so many pieces of the pie. And I was always, well, you know what? How about I make the pie bigger? I'll do some different, I'll add some other stuff. Let's make the pie bigger. But you got to get out there.
It's funny to me, George Lynch, is in today's world of internet heroes and keyboard toughness, and everybody's a critic, everybody has a voice, whether it was earned or not. And that's true. I mean, you could go on to The Rock, who has made a mint in wrestling and movies, and tell him that he sucks at what he does because we have the ability to get to people today on a comment or a direct message or whatever. We can all be Siskel and Eberts. You used to have to watch Siskel and Ebert to get the thumbs up or thumbs down. Now all I have to do is turn on my own social media to find out what a piece of shit I am daily, right? But in the day of internet marketing, in the day of keyboard toughness and all these critics out there, I see
cowboys.
Yeah. I see people actually making fun of the term pro staff. They're like, "Oh, I'm a pro staffer. Oh, I'm an and I'm like, what's wrong with that? If you're part of a team, if you're taking ownership in the end goal and you see the vision of the founders or the owners or the management and you're helping it, I'll tell you this right now, that you keep saying the words Tom Matthews. Avery was founded in 1994 in Memphis, Tennessee, and it was built around a boat blind at Tom and Alan Hughes. Yeah. Tom designed it, and he was selling it in parking lots like Max Prairie Wings and Simmons back in the early 90s and the mid 90s. And then it evolved into Avery, what it is today, then Greenhead Gear and the Decoys and Avery Sporting Dog. But Tom Matthews, I remember specifically going to pro staff summits. And I remember being at one specifically in Loveland, Colorado, where I gave a speech. Then they had Tyson Keller, this young cat from South Dakota.
Yeah.
He came out and gave you know what his seminar on was? It was on photography. Tom prided himself in getting the right photography coming in from all of these pro staffers and what you call his army. And so to me, to hear people make fun of that, it drives me nuts it's like, what you're really telling me is that you wish you had something that you could build a pro staff around. Instead of making fun of it, instead of being this internet cowboy that can get on there and kill everybody else because you went out in your winter wheat field last night and killed 7 widgeons, that's awesome. But that doesn't make it bad for somebody to be part of something. So all I'm saying is that when people go on and they read about Legendary Gear, they read about and educate themselves on what George Lynch is doing, and you're part of this pro staff, it's easy to go negative on it. It's easy to say, oh, it's just another pro staff. Well, it's not. It's a belief. It's a team. It's a family. It's a lot of pride and joy that you and your wife, Diane, are putting into this. And that's why it's so hard for me to swallow when somebody goes, oh, this sucks, or you're just a pro staffer. Just stop and pump the brakes and understand that there's a lot of sweat equity that goes into building these brands, and it's not worth your time to make fun of them. I wish that I could go out now and give a seminar on how not to be a hater and how to wake up earlier and go to bed later and have vision and work ethic and be able to develop an idea and see it through to fruition and take it from infancy to maturity and its adolescent stages and everything and build a brand, because it's freaking hard. So for anybody to go out and critique and put negative spin on this, it's just and insult somebody. It's crazy. I love the idea of a pro staff and an army because I watched the greatest man to do it. The greatest to ever do it was Tom Matthews. He built a pro staff that we were doing seminars, right, the round tables and the waterfowl summits and the workshops. He blew it out of the water, and that's what grew Avery and Greenhead Gear into the monster that it became.
He always tell me that. He says, if you go through Wildfowl magazine or you go through Ducks Unlimited, this is where he was genius. I mean, they marketed well, so it could be a dog, it could be a shot color page ad, it could be a real tree, it could be moss show, but all of a sudden you look and the kid's picking up a decoy and he's got an Avery cap on. Tom was really good that they made sure that all these guys who were putting their pictures in magazines and promoting, they at least had something on them that said Avery. And build up. And here's how, Chad, when you talked, I'm going to answer when you said kind of how do you handle when people get negative, and they do get negative. But, I understand, first of all, where that negativity comes from. It comes from
jealousy,
people who haven't I'm just going to come out, people who are losers. To me, you got to sit here and have faith in yourself, but faith in your fellow man. It's about treating other people how you want to be treated. People that, with this, and we build up. I don't worry about any of the negative stuff that come out. I mean, I used to. There's a couple, but a lot of it comes up with these negative kids. I know where the negative come. The negative comes after me because it's an attack on you or it's an attack on me. They're trying to bring down. It's a it's a jealousy thing, but I don't let it bother me. What I do is I roll it off. We build up positive. Diane is constantly, we have great communication with this team that's growing right now. And the guys, it's about keeping them on fire. Understand, and I think people know that there's the keyboard cowboys and stuff like that. What I do is I don't get in confrontations. I don't get, we ignore it. Now, if I'm somewhere and I get a chance to talk to somebody, say, hey, now you can tell me why you think, what do you think something's a piece of crap? I'll talk to you man to man. And it's right. You don't have to agree with me. It's called debate, but you're not going to hammer my ass on social media. And, so the best thing to do is ignore it, go away, build a team that overflows. When someone's negative down there, you got this positive guys going in, drowning this rat out, moving it back to positive. That's how you handle the negative people. You drown. And the reason they're jealous is because no one has asked them to be on a pro staff. They haven't earned, and I should say they haven't earned the right to be on a pro staff. And you'll see some of the older seasoned veteran guys out there who get on the internet and slam the pro staff. And I think that's more of the older guys that I know. And I look at that and I was like, dude, why do you say that? Do you know, I know you real well. Do you know, like 15 years ago when you were getting in, you used to sponsor a lot and be on a lot of pro staffs. It's just, you remember your roots and where you come from, but it's jealousy, 90% of it. And the biggest thing is just you ignore it. And because more of that I spend negativity, it's a cancer. And cancer grows with negativity. It just keeps growing. And then what it does, it ruins that positive force that I had on something. Okay, today I'm going to work on this camo, or today I'm going to do something I'm working on. It's real important. Well, if I lose half the day of my mind on the negativity, he's won and we're not going to grow. So it isn't going to change. That part isn't going to change, but the best thing that you can do is just ignore it. Absolutely. And it's 90% is jealousy. You're right.
I think it is. And I think that it's a shame because, one of the things you hear a lot is, well, you were with Tim Grounds and you were with Fred Zink and you did this. And I'm like, yeah, I was personally, I'm not afraid to talk about anything. I want to be transparent. If it wasn't for Tim Grounds and if it wasn't for Fred Zink bringing me on and being able to call guys like you back in the day and Foils, and I used to wear Phil Robertson out. He got to the point to where he's like, screw it, just bring him down here to Louisiana, and then had me come to Texas and hunt with him and Jace and Red Dog and W.E. Phillips and all of them. And but I wore people out probably. I was very, very persistent, but I wouldn't be to where I am without the Trailblazers and the guys that helped me, but I had the mindset and the wherewithal to go out and try to do my own thing. And here's the deal. That's America. That's free enterprise. That's how the wheels and the spokes on that wheel keep turning. Fred Zink didn't invent the goose call. Fred Zink had a little catalog called Zink Outdoors way before he worked for Avery, when he was just blowing a goose call for Tim Grounds and wearing cornfield camouflage and laying in an eliminator blind with Ron Latch on Final Approach. He wasn't he went out and evolved and turned Zink Outdoors catalog into the SR1 and the XR, the duck calls and the goose calls. Then it went into his tenure with Avery and developing the blinds there, and then taking his knowledge with decoy carving and helping Tom launch the decoys and the pro grade series with greenhead gear decoys. So everybody has roots. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a past. It's the guys that want to take it to the next level. It doesn't mean that you're a copycat, that you went out and started your own brand. You just had the intuition and the wherewithal to follow through with it. So I think that everybody has a seat on that bus. Everybody has to know their role. Jealousy and envy is what brings America down. I can sit here all day and say, oh yeah, it doesn't matter what the haters say. And at one time it did a lot more. But today it still blows my mind that we can work as hard as we can on a TV episode or a podcast or a brand in a product launch or whatever, and then have somebody say, Bandit sucks because their waiters leak. The Foul Life sucks because you play too much music. This podcast sucks because you're a terrible speaker. And I'm sitting there going, why not just do it in a way to construct somebody positively and constructive criticism to maybe give them the ability to say, okay, I want to improve in that area. But as soon as you go negative like that, I just shut the door and turn the ear off, because I'm like, I'm not going to learn anything from you. I want to learn. I want to be a sponge. I'm trying to put the best content out there. I'm trying to show how special this lifestyle truly is, that we are not entitled to it, that we are privileged and blessed to have it. I don't take it for granted at all that I get to wake up and make my living as a duck hunter or a goose hunter or whatever. I'm not a professional hunter. There's kids in Arkansas, 8-year-olds, that'll mop me up on a single reed duck call. There's 15-year-old goose hunters in Washington that'll mop me up on a lesser Canada goose hunt. I would never try to say I'm the best. My dad and mom didn't raise me that way, but I did want to try to show people, like, here's the lifestyle and how special it is. Here's how I see it. I love music. I love the military. I love the campfire. I love calling instruction. I love vocalizing with wild animals and getting ducks and geese as close as I possibly can. A lot of times I don't even call the shot, and I take a lot of abuse for that with the people hunting with me. They get pissed at me. But what I always wanted to do was say, this life is special. Live through us vicariously. But then it's like, wow, y'all are critics. Y'all have a problem with it. I just want people to know that instead of always beating up on the people that are doing it, just try to do it yourself. And if you make it, more power to you. But if you don't, maybe it will teach you how hard it truly is to keep those wheels a-turning and keep them greased the right way. And the negativity and pessimism just kills the waterfowl community, the deer hunting community, the turkey hunting community. We're all in it for the same reason, to enjoy the hunt and to write a story. And I think that that's where Legendary comes in, is your ability to help people see through the trees at the light at the end of the tunnel, that it's way more than a pro staff. It's way more than a duck call or a goose call. This lifestyle is special. So don't beat the people up that are trying to promote it in the right way.
Absolutely. And I believe that, when you're having, it's about being positive. It's this negative. And here's each one of us, and I recommend this to my son. He does it today, and even though he's a pastor, that we all have our mentors. Even today, there's guys who are older that I still look to and talk to, and you've got to have that line of people that always kind of keep you in line. And the negative people, and that's just life, Chad. If you're in construction, I've seen it in construction, I've seen it in sports, you see it in the hunting. Jealousy is a wicked tool. It's an evil tool. And you're never going to stop that. And what I have is those mentors. If there was something out there that, and I do like criticism. I like constructive criticism. It's like you, we all want to get better. You're not sitting there waking up in the day and say, hey man, I'm going to make a TV show and I'm really going to screw it up. And I want to be an asshole on it. And I want to do this and I want to do that. You don't do that. I want to get up. I want to make the best show, or I want to make the best products. So I'm going to go out the door today. That's what you wake up and you want excellence. And that negativity, if it is something that I'm doing wrong, I go to my mentors. Hey, talk to somebody that you respect and say, hey, what do you think? And if they look at you and say, Chad, screw them. Do your thing, bro. It's just good to help people accountability. And there's things you can learn, but the rest of it, dude, you got to take that and skip that post. Skip that post. Skip it. If it's something because I'm saying it's going to keep coming. In sports, the same way. He's only good because he hasn't played the competition. They're playing weak teams, or they do this. It's always something. When someone they want an excuse when they fail or they haven't succeeded, and it's easier to ride your shirt tail and blame you than to look in the mirror and blame themselves.
I agree, George. I couldn't have said it better myself, and I'm proud to know you, my man. And let's do this again. I want to keep up on Legendary gear. I want to know what y'all are doing with it. I can't wait to get my call that Diane says is on its way. Can't wait to hammer down on it.
You're getting our first wood. Actually, I got a little short goose call that is bad to the bone, and we're doing it in Coca-Cola. I just saw the first one. They're gorgeous, dude. I can't wait. You're gonna like it.
Don't forget to sign it for me.
We'll sign it, brother. And it's been a pleasure to be honored to be on here, dude. I want to get, we got this new cabin here, so I want to get you on a duck and goose hunt sometime.
Yeah, let's film together this year. We'll talk about it.
We'll have a legendary time.
Yeah, let's talk about it and set up a trip. I can come in and film with you and put Legendary on an episode and keep helping y'all as much as we can. I appreciate you coming on, and we'll do it again for sure in the near future.
Chad, keep doing what you're doing, man. I love what you're doing, and proud to call you my friend too. God bless.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the support. God bless to you, George, your wife, Diane. Legendary Gear, George Lynch. Check them out. They're all over social media. Their website, duck, goose calls, turkey calls, coming soon. I'm excited for the brand. You'll see more of them here on the Foul Life podcast, Foul Life TV. We believe in George Lynch. He's one of the trailblazers, so y'all check him out and support him. This has been another episode of the Foul Life podcast, again, brought to you by the great Gerber Gear. Stay sharp, America. Keep supporting the partners and sponsors that support us, and thank you for all the subscriptions, the downloads. Tom, Jake, let's play it out. 2 a.m. Logic. The song is called My Foul Life. Y'all take care.